So thank you for joining me here in my humble abode for an episode of Fact Fiend FAQ, or as I like to call it, for fact's sake. And today I'm answering the question of, is there really nothing I can't open a beer with, and how do I do that in the first place? Anyone who's viewed a couple of videos on the channel will no doubt have realised that alcohol plays a big part in Fact Fiend's success. In fact, the very origins of Fact Fiend as a channel go back to my days as a journeyman writer, where I would get drunk with my friends, such as Brad, Nisha and Lucas, and just recount facts I'd learned that day from the articles I'd written. And that ended up being entertaining enough where I thought maybe that'd be spun out into its own thing, and there's more to it than that, and I'll no doubt get into that in another episode for fact's sake. But specifically in regards to alcohol, I've always used alcohol as a social lubricant. Back at my days as an improv comedian and a stand-up comedian, I would frequently find myself being very nervous presenting on stage. I'm even nervous right now in my own home, talking to a camera. I want to crack open this beer right now. That's how nervous I get. I suffer very horribly from cotton mouth, which is a condition I think a lot of people suffer from who are quite anxious or just nervous people in general, where you feel like your just mouth gets very dry and you have to constantly drink water. And I combine that with the intoxicating effects of alcohol to just make myself a little bit more calm in extreme social situations, such as being on stage or, in regards to Fact Fiend, performing in front of a crowd of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people. And a long-time party trick I have had is the ability to open a beer with near enough any object. Some examples of which you can see now. Today's object is another beer. Big D peanut butter is a can of Coke. A tin of baked beans is a Christmas tree. A bottle of Prosecco. A badminton racket. Hand sanitizer. Always use it, folks. My kettle. A drumstick. A GameCube controller. Oh. Ooh. Yeah. And I've often been asked, is there anything I can't open a beer with? And the answer to which is, yes, there are many things I can't open a beer with, but the actual list of things I can't open a beer with is probably shorter than the list of things I can open a beer with. So I'm happy to share today the trick to doing that. And very simply, as long as the thing you want me to open a beer with has an edge, it can be used to open a beer. And even then, there are a couple of tricks you can use. So the actual origins of the trick, I learned it back in my days working as a glass collector behind a bar. There was an old barman there who showed me how it was done, specifically in regards to opening a beer with another beer. Because that was his trick to get tips, and it's a trick I took from him and later utilised in my own barman career. And the way it worked is whenever a customer asked for a bottle of beer, I'd always bring them two and then open one with the other. And more often than not, the customer would ask, how did you do that? To which I'd respond, well, order another beer and I'll show you. They are 2 for $5 or 2 for $3, whatever the deal was for that day. And that's how I upsold and got tips and just found a way to interact with customers to create that, that shared camaraderie, so they'd be more likely to come to my bar, give me tips, talk to me, that sort of thing. But the way the trick works is very, very simple. All you need is anything with a lip. So I'm going to use this bottle of beer here, but I'm going to use it to open this bottle of tonic water because I'm recording this at 4 in the afternoon. And I'm not going to crack open a beer at 4 in the afternoon, but the mechanics are basically the same. So for this example, I'm just going to use 2 bottles, but the basic mechanics are the same for any object you're going to use. And first things you want to do is you want to take the bottle you want to open in your hand, like this. You want to leave an inch or so gap. Usually the rule of thumb I use is quite literally my thumb. You need a thumb-shaped gap there. So show it to the camera. Autofocus just kicking in because I'm doing this shit on my own, but hopefully you can see that there. And then what you do is you take the object you want to use to open this bottle and you rest it here, just below the lip. And you can see that there. You can see there's a connection there, but you see it's quite loose. When you try and open, it slips. So what you do is you open this finger here, grab the object in this finger. It works best with a bottle as well, because you see bottles have a lip here. So you grab that, pull that in. You hold that very tightly. And you'll see that there's a slightly stronger thing there. And obviously I'm doing a bit loose here, so you can't see. But when you combine all those motions in one, it's very simply just cheers. And that was probably a bad one for me. I've done it much better in the examples I no doubt showed earlier in this video. But once you get good at that, you can do it with 2 bottles almost instantaneously, which is how I got my tips, because it happens so fast you can't comprehend what's happening. And I always got customers coming back, do that trick again, order a beer. Oh, boom, do that again, boom, boom, boom. Great. But once you've learned how to do that, effectively, anything with a lip can be used to open that bottle. You just use the very same concept. Obviously some things have to be adjusted depending on like the shape and size of the object, but as long as it has a solid surface which you can wedge underneath the top of the bottle, you can open it as long as you have correct leverage. And something that's happened to me a lot since Fact Fiend took off when I meet fans is them asking me to open up their bottles using an object they provide. And I'm normally more than happy to do so, and I encourage anyone who meets me to try and make it as difficult as possible, because I see it as a challenge. Contrary to what you might expect, larger, more unwieldy objects are easier to open beers with in my experience. And the difficulty for me lies with someone handling something very small, like a coin, which has happened many, many times, and I usually have to tell the person, I can't open it with a coin. Like, I have done in the past, but it usually takes a few minutes, and that's not as visually impressive. And also, it fucking canes your fingers. Because the other trick that I used to do back when I was a journeyman writer who didn't earn very much money is I used to bet people that I could open a beer with anything they handed me. And there is a trick you can use to put your thumb on the scale, as it were, in those situations that I used to employ when I was a younger man and I didn't have very much money, and I used to make bets with people at house parties and the like that I could open a bottle of beer with anything they handed me. And in the situations where I was handed something very small or something that did not have an edge on which to latch the beer bottle top onto, you can use your thumb. And the mechanics of how this works are essentially the same. And I've got a pen here, which is an object I've been handed in the past that I've been unable to open a beer with. It's too flimsy. The amount of force required to open a beer bottle usually breaks the pen. And that's something I have to tell people when they hand me an object. It's like, this object may get damaged because I'm opening a beer bottle with. There's a reason that actual bar blades and bottle openers are steel, because you need something quite sturdy. And I've had people get mad at me when I refuse to do it with, like, say, for example, their phone. It's like, well, I can do it with your phone. I've done it with the phone in the past, and the phone got scratched. And the person was very annoyed with me, even though they insisted that I do so. Got a phone call. Ahoy, hoy.
Hey, mate.
Yeah, mate, how you doing?
Hey, mate, have you got a message?
I did, yes. I'm just in the middle of recording a video right now. Should be doing it in 5 minutes.
Sorry, mate.
Nice game.
Right, see you soon.
Okay, bye. So an example of a situation where it's an object that I couldn't open a beer with is if someone hands me an object that's very flimsy or expensive. And in the case of something expensive, I realistically could open the beer with it, just I don't want to damage the thing and piss the person off. But the trick you can do is you hold the object in your hand like before, but instead of putting the object underneath the tip of the bottle, you use this part of your thumb there. I don't know what that's called. Is it the knuckle? I guess it's not. Or you can use that part there, depending. So obviously bone is quite tough and there's a lip there, you can feel it. There's a little bit of an edge there, so you can pop that part of your thumb underneath, or that part of your thumb there if you feel so inclined, or even any other part of any one of your fingers. The problem with this is it fucking hurts. And I've not done this in about 3 to 5 years because I've not felt the need to. And I distinctly recall ripping all of the flesh off of this part of my thumb once on a night out, and just never again. Like, it's not worth £10 to me to lose that part of my thumb again. But that is a trick you can do in the absolute most desperate scenarios. And I compare that to people opening bottles with their teeth, which is similarly something that can go horribly, horribly wrong, seemingly without warning. I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, if anyone's ever wondered, like, how is it you open bottles with other bottles or any random object you get handed, it's very simple. You find the edge, create a wedge, BAM! So if anybody out there has any burning questions about the channel that I can answer, feel free to post them below and I'll get to them at a time.